Catching up with Sarah and Ginny, fueled by laughter and insights aplenty. Curiosity, connection, and learning that sticks. Real talk, real lives with practical tips. Welcome to Catching Up with Sarah and Ginny. Come on in.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Catching Up with Sarah and Ginny. If you are listening, this will not affect you. If you are watching, Sarah appears to be in a very dark room. The technology has failed us today. It's a very hot day. Maybe it's all to do with that. But you are, I was going to say you're here in spirit, Sarah. That sounds terrible, doesn't it? That you're here, aren't you, Sarah?
I'm always here in spirit. Yeah, no, I think the internet from Cornwall can't quite reach you all. So I think there might be an issue there. But I'm here. I've got my lipstick on. I'm holding my mug. You can just have that. You can just imagine that.
We can have that. Can you tell us what colour is your dress?
Oh, I'm going to say it's bright pink. If the video comes on in the middle, then you're going to be like, it's not, is it, Sarah? No, I've got my pink earrings in. There you go. That's all we need to know.
Me too. So we are thrilled today that we have got Emma Kell with us. So if we begin, Emma, can you introduce yourself, like who you are and what you do, please?
Yes, thank you for having me. Very excited to be here. My name's Emma. I am coming to the end of my 27th year of teaching. I teach part-time in alternative provision in what used to be known as a PRU in Watford. I do that for about a third of my time. The other third of my time I spend coaching. So I coach people who work in schools. I trained in 2020 and have coached over 300 people working in schools. And I facilitate, speak, write, faff around, mulling on teacher wellbeing, school culture, communication, and that kind of thing. So I get to go into all sorts of different types of schools, and I have a lovely professional life. I feel very fortunate. I'm not allowed to say lucky. My coaches are not allowed to say lucky. Fortunate. I feel very fortunate to have the life I do.
I'm already going to pull you up, Emma, because you don't faff around. So tell us what your books. Oh, what's happened there?
No,
But
no,
it is still recording, Sarah. It is still recording. So I think we carry on, but I just start from where I was saying and we just cut and paste. Is that all right, everyone?
Yeah.
So, Emma, I have to pull you up on saying that you are faffing and I'm going to push you to say, tell me the names of the books that you have written.
I suppose when I say faffing, I suppose some of my best thoughts come to me at completely random moments, like in the bath or walking through the woods or driving on the M25. So I don't mean faffing. What do I mean? Mulling over. Some of the books that I've written, my first book, How to Survive in Teaching, was published about 6 years ago. And that looks at the factors which cause people to struggle in schools and cause them to thrive. I then published A Little Guide to Teacher Wellbeing and Self-Care with Adrian Bethune, and it is little, but it is powerful. Very, very proud of that one. My latest, I published a book on working with parents and carers with Clemmy Stewart. My latest solo book is Real Lives of Teachers, which digs a bit deeper into those factors, looking at the post-COVID world and what really helps teachers to remain in the profession, so linked to recruitment and retention. And Adrian Bethune and I have just edited, which is a whole new ball game, a book called Questions on Teacher Wellbeing. Now, editing is awesome because obviously we had to do quite a lot of work, but we had 10 brilliant people write the chapters for us. And to be perfectly honest, when the publisher suggested this, I thought, oh, flipping heck, have we not said everything there is to say about wellbeing?
No.
But then we got these brilliant people from Ben Levinson, Buki Yusuf, Sarah Mijatovic, Emma Shepherd to write different chapters for us. And they have provided a kaleidoscopic, deep, profound perspective on teacher wellbeing, which has had a profound impact on me when I was reading it. So hopefully it will really help our new teachers coming into schools and help with that perennial retention crisis. So yes, so I write stuff usually on a Sunday when I can escape from my family.
Right, well, thank you. Over to you, Sarah. Oh, yes, of course. So, Emma, hearing about all your books and all the things that you do, I don't know how easy or how difficult this will be, but what has been a wow moment for you? It can have been a recent wow moment, one from a long time ago, just something that kind of remains at the forefront of your mind.
Yeah, I love this question. I've been mulling this over. Um, all my wow, no, I have many wow moments. You know, adults are amazing. People are remarkably resilient. I love seeing people enact their values. But actually, my main wow moments are with children. Um, and they are mainly in school. And I talk about children being Chessbrook. My school's called Chessbrook. What we do at Chessbrook is we are incredibly stubborn. You know, we have really high standards. It's a wonderful place to work. We're incredibly stubborn. So we believe in those children until they come around to believing in themselves. So we have these sky high expectations. So I was saying to my colleagues the other day, because I teach there once a week. I work with staff there on different days, but I teach there once a week. So I get those gaps. And what I often say is if you could measure progress in smiles, so
Wow.
often when our young people come to us, you know, they have reached the end of the line with school. They have been permanently excluded from often more than one school, uh, very disengaged, very disillusioned, out of their window of tolerance one way or the other. So they're either highly dysregulated, you know, running away from us, or they are just muted, refusing to make eye contact, you know, in freeze mode. Um, and what we do is we smile at them and we have high expectations of them. And they put their phones in their lockers and they come into lessons and they learn. And we tailor the curriculum to their interests. And gradually you see them, and I get to see them in these weekly leaps. And so it's that moment. And obviously, I'm not going to name any young people, of just walking in to brunch. So we have brunch together. We sit down, have brunch together every day, and seeing this young person just look up and seeing his smile for the first time. Eye contact, a smile, happy to be there, confident, shoulders back. And those for me are the wow moments. And it's not just the smiles, it's the moments of empathy. I had a young person the other day who had learned that I was giving a presentation after school and I was a bit nervous about it. So she gave me some advice. And you know, so she sat down, she said, "Miss, don't be boring, but don't try and be too funny because that's cringe." And then as she left, she went, "You'll be all right, Miss." And this was someone who was in full flight mode when they first arrived with us and wouldn't come into my classroom and hated English and who was this woman and all of this, and just, you know, in the space of weeks. So yeah, so it's the impact that brilliant educational organizations can have on young people.
I love it, and it's connections, isn't it? And I always think it's also, Emma, isn't it, about remembering as well? They've said something, you remember it, and then they mirror it. That is when that individual was mirroring it, when you were saying, I was like, wow, that
Mm.
is phenomenal, isn't it? And the shoulders, it's this, the shoulders down, isn't it? You can just see it in their whole demeanor.
Mhm.
And that you must see it so much. And like you say, you're in quite a privileged position, aren't you? Because you go in, I think you said, for about a day a week, but you can see it more than other people. And I know you well enough for you to that you will say to people, no, they have made progress.
Yeah.
You know, that you can't see it because you're with them every day, but I can see it. And oh, Emma, I love that wow moment because it's real, and it's about kind of it's not all academic, because actually we need children to feel confident, safe, secure. And would you agree then the learning happens?
Oh, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
Yeah.
isn't it? You know,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's self-belief, it's confidence, it's happiness that we are happy to be here. And actually, I do have a future. I do have a future, and I do
Yes.
have worth in the world. And these people around me, these amazing adults, believe in me. So actually, I
Yeah.
give in. Why the heck would I not believe in myself?
Yeah.
If all these
Yeah.
adults around me are telling me I
Yeah.
succeed. And I will say, as a plug for chess, but you know, our young people leave with on average 12 qualifications each at the end of year 11. If they stay
Wow.
with us for year 10 and 11, or indeed for a few months of year 11, they leave with on average 12 qualifications. Now, are those all high level GCSEs? Some of them are. Some of them are. We've vetted students for higher tier maths this year. But actually it might be a mixture of land management and music and hair and beauty and animal care. So what we do, so they all do their maths and English. The vast majority of them do science. We offer the whole range, but they leave us with, so it's both, isn't it? It's we believe in ourselves, and actually, every single one of our year 11s that's just finished knows what's going to happen on, is it the 20th of August? They know what's going to happen. They have their college place lined up. They know what the, plan A, plan B, plan C is, and we've got them, and we're sending them out into the world.
And I just love that. They know they've got a pathway and they've got a toolkit, haven't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just absolutely brilliant. So moving on then, Emma, if Send were a song, what would it be and why?
Oh, see, I went round the houses with this one, Jenny. You asked me this months ago and I couldn't remember what I'd said. But so I went from Rage Against the Machine through to John Lennon's Imagine we could meet the needs of all our children and we had the resources to do so. And, you could probably hear I'm a naturally optimistic person, but the world of Send, obviously I come at it, I'm not a Send specialist like you two, and I'm in awe of people like you who really have an intricate understanding of the needs of those young people. I come at it from the angle of working with parents of children with Send, of teachers, of leaders of children with Send, so the adults essentially, and it's bordering on despair, isn't it? So I actually went with Katy Perry's Raw in the end. Nothing like a good old Katy Perry, because there's just this, and you find yourself, someone calls you and says, my child is really struggling. And I find myself sort of parroting this advice of just be the most difficult parent you can possibly be. You need to fight now. And actually, I find myself giving this advice. And then, of course, I know the people working in schools they don't want to fight. They don't want to fight. But actually, what we've got is the adults fighting because of the lack of resources. And there's something bordering on despair at the moment, because we simply do not have the resources, the funding across the sector. There are brilliant places doing brilliant work, of course there are, but across the sector to meet that, I almost picture it like it's a deluge. I almost picture a dam bursting, this deluge of need coming through. And, and as a Senko or as a head teacher or as a phase leader or a head of year, you're calling the external powers that be, whether it's CAMS or early help. One organisation said to me the other day that the early help answer machine was full. And I just think that as a little, I don't know, that it is really, really, really tough out there. And I have so much admiration for the parents, the educators, the stakeholders, but the children themselves who they'll muddle through, but they're living in a very, very different world to the world that we were looking at pre-COVID.
No, a very good choice, and I will put it on the playlist. And so moving on to our final question, Emma, tell us about a favourite book of yours. It can be a book now, it can be a book from your childhood, it can be fiction, non-fiction. Are you going to the colour-coded bookcase?
No, because I'll be there all night because I can never find books on the coded bookcase. I'm just looking to see if it's behind me, but it's not at the moment. I'm going to go with Ethan Cross's Chatter. Have you come across this one?
No.
Game changer. If you don't want to read the whole book or don't have time to read the whole book, he also features on Mel Robbins' podcast. So he summarizes the book in an hour. But Ethan Cross he's a positive psychologist. I mean, he is essentially a professor in the voice in our heads. So it sounds a bit creepy, but we've all got an inner monologue, and the inner monologue can be really helpful. So in the old days, it would help us to remember phone numbers. You go around the supermarket and it helps you to remember to buy bread and milk and apples and all of those things. But often our inner voice is actually working against us. It's like, oh, Emma, who are you to be on Sarah and Ginny's podcast? They must have the wrong Emma Kell. I mean, who are you to be standing in front of these people? Who are you to be writing a book? All of it, all of that stuff. You're so lazy. You're so lazy. Those voices in our heads, which actually detract from they get in the way of the things we want to do. One of my phrases in coaching is around getting out of your own way. It's the voice which gets in your way. And Ethan Cross talks about having people in a room and getting them to write down what their inner voice, the chatter is the negative voice, is saying. And he says to them, essentially, there's a shredder over there, there's a lighter over there, no one has to see it. And even then, the voice in people's heads is often so cruel. You know, we use that cliche of, would you say this to your best friend? It's even worse than that. You know, this, you know, you're lazy, you're stupid, you're clumsy. Why would you bother trying to do this particular thing? That people find it hard to write. So what he does is he comes up with 5 or 6 really, and you know me, I love a practical strategy, really practical strategies for taming that voice, for modifying that voice in your head to make it work in your favor. And it's everything from the sort of timeline to looking back in the past and then looking into the future. So how have I survived things like this before? Will this matter in 6 months or 5 years from now? Through to getting out into nature and experiencing awe, through to, and this is the one I use a lot actually now, which sounds a bit weird, but talking to yourself in the second or third person. So I found myself at school, we had a perfectly non-intimidating monitoring process, people dropping in and out of each other's lessons in a really supportive way. But of course, I'm of that generation which gets really nervous every time there's any kind of observation. My imposter syndrome kicks in. They're going to come in, they're going to realize I'm a fraud. And I found myself in school an hour early because I was in a panic, you know, rifling through my box of resources, going, I need to show I can do this, and I need to show I can do this, and I need to evidence phonics, and I need to evidence numeracy, and I need to evidence whatever it is. And the book came to my mind, and I found myself saying, Emma, you've been doing this for 26 years. Okay. So whatever happens, when those children walk through that door, you will know what to do. So calm down, stop it, and stop overcomplicating everything. And actually it works. It works. It's very bizarre. Well, it works for me anyway. So anyway, Ethan Cross's Chatter, highly recommended.
I shall be purchasing that, Emma. I can relate to so much of that. And I think this, when I was a class teacher and my books were going to be, they never said scrutinized, but I mean, they were, weren't they? I would overmark everything. You know, it was that, I worked in one school, and when they gave you feedback, the good things were in green and the things you needed to improve in were in red. And I was like, I don't want to be the person who gets lots of red, you know, and this idea, I love this idea of, will it matter in, you know, 6 months? Will it matter in 6 years? It, as my wonderful Yorkshire father would say, it calms the job down. And I really do think it does. And this idea of writing things down and shredding them or burning them, Emma, you know, I think the physical act of doing it, I'm sure it will say in the book, but it should, I'm guessing, give a release, or I've got rid of that, I suppose. Is that
getting it out of your head? Yes. Again, something I use in coaching is, if you have a thought which feels urgent or stressful, you work out whether to act on it. So in which case you prioritize it, shelve it, in which case you put it in a box, come back to it later, see if it still feels as important tomorrow morning or next week, or more often than not, shred it, bin it. I will get people to write things down on Post-it notes and literally bin them in front of me sometimes. It's that act of getting it out of your head, isn't it? It's that, you know, if I've got all wound up with a loved one and they're driving me insane, I will quite often get out my phone and get out the notes page and write down, sometimes in French or German in case they see it, or a mixture of the two, all of the bad thoughts I'm having. And actually just that getting it out of your head, because otherwise it can all get tangled up into a really messy ball.
And it can get bigger, can't it? It can magnify. And I think sometimes writing something down and then looking at it even 10 minutes later, you're like, was that it?
Perspective.
Was that it? Yeah, perspective. Emma, it's been absolutely brilliant. We have got Sarah listening in at the moment intently, but it's been absolutely brilliant. And I loved your wow moment because it was about children, and it's about the difference that we make to individuals. And I love this idea of, they know the pathway that they're going on, and that, I think it comes back to feeling valued. And I'm going to buy that book because that sounds my kind of a book. So thank you so much. And I will say on behalf of Sarah and I that it's always a pleasure and never a chore. Thank you so much, Emma.
My pleasure. Lovely to see you. And sorry we didn't actually get to see you, Sarah, next time.
Thanks for joining us this time on Catching Up with Sarah and Ginny.
Always a pleasure and never a chore.